How much is too much when it comes to sharing a child's medical journey? It all starts with a story that pulls at heartstrings and garners attention in an effort to inspire, connect, or sometimes even raise awareness. You're drawn into an emotional journey alongside the parents, feeling a sense of solidarity as you witness a child go through a devastating illness that no one should ever have to face. But what happens when it turns out that this story is all just a lie, fabricated to emotionally manipulate the audience for attention, for clout? A story so disturbing that your jaw will drop as it uncovers. And as we go through this video, I want you to ask yourself, is it ever okay to share a child's unconsenting medical journey on social media for the masses to consume? But first, hi guys, welcome back to De-Influenced. I'm Sasha, and here I dig into influencer culture, hold them accountable, and call out their crappy behaviors, because it's not just about drama, it's about the dangerous actions that can have real-world impacts on their audiences. And my hope is to help you guys discern where to spend your social media currency. Today we are going to be discussing the absolutely horrific allegations that have recently been made towards TikToker Elena Harris, also known as Allanah, I believe, currently under fire for some of the most heinous things ever, period. I don't know how any mother could possibly put their child through this on purpose for attention for themselves, but Allanah is currently being accused of drugging her young toddler daughter in order to make her sick and put her through some of the most intense surgeries that a human can go through for nothing. This is Dee Blanchard level and we're going to talk not just about this specific case, but we're going to talk about a growing problem on social media, and that is the rise of medical influencing or illness. I don't know. I don't even know what you would label it as. And that is of parents exploiting their children's medical journeys on the internet. It has been on the rise over the last couple years, and I think that there's a very dark undertone when it comes to discussing this topic, and I also think that it's very important and quite nuanced as well. And as we go through, we need to keep in mind the most important questions surrounding this topic. Should a parent be allowed to share their child's medical journey and struggles? And what does this mean in terms of privacy and consent surrounding that child and their story? This one's going to be a heavy one, guys. Let's go. I want to open up this discussion talking a little bit about medical privacy and consent. First, what is medical privacy? Medical privacy refers to an individual's right to control how their personal health information is collected, used, and shared. This includes details about medical conditions, diagnoses, treatments, and any other health-related data, except in specific situations defined by law. For children, medical privacy is especially significant because they are not fully capable of understanding the implications of sharing their health information. Parents or guardians are tasked with the safeguarding of this privacy, making decisions in the best interest of the child. However, in the digital age, many parents inadvertently or sometimes intentionally, such as in this case, violate this by oversharing online, exposing their child's medical details to public scrutiny. That begs the question, why is medical privacy important? Well, it's important for a ton of reasons. First of all, it's none of your business to share. It's not you. It's not your diagnosis or your thing, right? And I feel like the line has been blurred between parents thinking that they own their children and children actually being treated like their own person. And by sharing all of their personal, private, medical information, that's a huge breach of trust for those kids, because they can't grow up and decide if they want to share their diagnoses or not with whoever they want. you take that away from them. And I feel like this was a big part of the fall of family vloggers. They realized that things such as hospital visits and dental visits and stuff like that, anything in the medical field, got them a boost in views, especially when it came to their children. And at the end of the day, that's not okay. It's not okay to realize this and exploit it. And I think that might have been what happened with Allanah. Children rely on their parents to protect their privacy, to protect their dignity, to protect what's best for them and look out for their best interests. And when a parent is so focused on their own social media clout that they decide to share everything about their children, that's not okay, especially when it comes to huge medical diagnoses or trauma or anything like that. And as the child ages, this information can very well be used against them. It can be used in bullying tactics, and it can be used when they're older to discriminate against getting jobs. Because although you can't legally not hire someone who's ill or pregnant or whatever the case may be, they cannot accept you if they know that you're going to be taking a ton of days off because you're sick, right? They just won't give you a call back. Plain and simple. And yeah, it's shitty, but you're taking that decision away from your kid. And what's wild to me is that there are laws in place to protect people's medical privacy. The HIPAA laws in the United States, for example, are in place to protect a person's medical privacy, with the exception of some extenuating circumstances, such as if medical records get subpoenaed or whatever the case may be. But there are laws to protect from this. So if healthcare providers aren't allowed to go around and just share people's diagnoses with whoever, whatever, whenever, then why should parents feel as though they have the right to do so? Why is it okay for parents to take their children's diagnoses and go and plaster them all over the internet for their own social media clout and gain? I don't think that's okay to ever do, especially when we start to ride the line between raising awareness about a certain disease and full-blown exploitation. And I feel as though once people start getting that attention and realizing, whoa, me talking about my kid's diagnosis got me a huge boost in the algorithm, and look at this, people love this, people want to hear more, and then they start giving more. And sometimes it might inadvertently happen, it might not be fully intentional, but other times it is 100% calculated. And I think in the case of Allanah, that's what's going on. Under HIPAA, patients' rights are protected. Healthcare providers cannot disclose health information without explicit consent from the patients or their guardian if the patient is a minor. So it's very strict. Very strict. Medical confidentiality is everything. People lose their licenses over breach of confidentiality, lose their jobs. So why is it that we are not holding parents accountable who are exploiting their children's medical journeys, medical trauma on social media? I don't understand how this is allowed to be an area of content, and it is a very large area of content as well. It is a huge niche right now. Why? Because kids, especially when they're in a vulnerable situation, let's back it up a little bit. Kids can't give consent, period. They cannot. And when they are medically vulnerable, when they are sick or in pain or unconscious, like in the case of Daisy, they can't give consent. So how dare you shove a camera in their face at this point in time? How dare you? For children, medical privacy is even more critical because they are not legally able to make decisions about their own information. Parents or guardians act as proxies, but this arrangement creates a super gray area in the digital age. First, we have ethical dilemmas of oversharing. Parents who share medical details on social media often overlook the child's future and rights to privacy. It's not your story or diagnosis to tell. And if we circle back to, is it ever okay to share stuff like this on social media? I think that there is an area where raising awareness for rare genetic diseases is important through the lens of either professionals or the parents' experience dealing with that, not giving away all of their children's information. There's a big difference. And at the end of the day, parents are making decisions for their children at such a young age by exposing all of this information, plastering it all over the internet for forever without their consent. And it might not be the path that the child chooses as they age. They might not want to share this stuff. And it's the same with adoption stories. It's not your story to tell. And I feel as though with this topic, oh my gosh, I don't know what I was going to say. It's not your story to tell. We saw it a lot with Nika and the oversharing, how it blurs the line between what is socially acceptable to share and what's not. And it blurs the privacy line. And I think that it's harboring some really potentially scary parasocial relationships because you are giving away all private information to strangers on the internet. And then that expectation is raised for the other influencer who doesn't want to share their child's medical journey. And they get pressured because, oh, well, that person shared, so why don't you share? And then it becomes this comparison game. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous for people's mental health to be stuck in this, oh, I'm not good enough because, or I'm not that, or whatever the case may be. There is no protections online, and HIPAA stops at the medical professionals. It doesn't apply to parents. So parents, because they are the medical decision makers, they are allowed to just share whatever they want to share. And I think that social media can definitely put a stop to that. If we're not going to put a stop to sharing children online, then at least put a stop to sharing medical information online. That stuff isn't okay for people to consume as entertainment or as content. It's gross. And on top of that, you have the risk of misinterpretation when it comes to oversharing. When complex medical diagnoses are involved, such as in the case of Daisy, and parents are there oversharing everything, sometimes they can say the wrong thing or leave stuff open to interpretation and judgment and preconceived notions about the child or the disease in general, and do more harm than good, especially if the parent hasn't tried to increase their knowledge on the disease other than, oh, the doctor told me it was this. And at the end of the day, that is what led to Alannah's ultimate downfall and these accusations and this investigation taking way. Before we get into what happened with Allanah and Brock, for children, this can be an identity formation type ordeal. Having all of this information available to the public can shape how the child views themselves and also how the public views the child. And you're forming an identity based on whatever diagnosis when a child is so much more than that. Just like Nika always honing in on her kids' skin color, they are so much more than the color of their skin. And the only focus their mom has on them is about the color of their skin. When it comes to this case, the only focus this mom had on this child was her medical diagnoses and the attention that it was giving her, not the kid. So it gets to a point where you have to ask yourself, how far is too far? And when does it go from raising awareness to exploiting? Or is it all exploitative? The bottom line, medical privacy is more than just a legal obligation. It's a moral responsibility, especially when it comes to children. Safeguarding a child's health information isn't about protecting them in the present. It's about preserving their dignity, their autonomy, and everything else of their future. And the other huge problem is the fact that children have an inability to consent. They cannot give informed consent to be filmed and put on the internet. Now, when you add a layer of illness to that, or in Daisy's case, comatose or almost comatose, I don't even know, because I don't know all the details because she scrubbed her life of the internet. How is that child giving you any form of consent at that point in time? Or when they're at the hospital under anesthesia or getting injections in pain, suffering? How is that child possibly giving you any form of consent, let alone informed consent? And then you go and share all of their information on the internet. And my most favorite thing that family vloggers do is shut all the public out about all their personal crap. But children, fair game. Why? Because it's making them money. It's giving them attention. I don't even think that for her, it was about the money. I think it was about the attention. We'll see, because of course, there was a GoFundMe created, but not by her, which is why I truly think that this was a bid for attention, and also leads me to believe that dad might not have been involved in it all. He might have been. We don't know. We won't know until it's all done. But honestly, I don't know based off of what I've seen so far. But I also haven't consumed their content. I literally know nothing about them until this incident popped up on my For You page. Even if parents are thinking that they're doing something good by sharing this information, at the end of the day, it is not your child's responsibility to raise awareness for their disease. And if they choose to do so personally when they're older and can consent to that and understand all the ramifications that come with sharing your medical information online, then that's on them to decide. But by sharing it when they're infants, toddlers, children, you take that ability away from them and the ability for them to create their story how they experienced it, not how you think they're experiencing it. There's been a rise in medical family vlogging. We saw it with House of Hughes, right? She exploited both of her children's birth and traumas and journeys, and continues to this day to exploit her son's medical trauma and diagnoses, her daughter's the most horrific allergy, right? Why? Because it invokes an emotional response in people. It hits the algorithm. It gets the views, the clicks, the likes. Until society stops engaging with that kind of content, it is never going to go away. Posting a child online and sharing all of their private stuff is bad enough. And then when you add in medical trauma on top of that and inability to consent, it's too far. We have lost our way with social media and brain rot content. What is acceptable to share with mass public and what's not acceptable to share. I gotta move, I'm uncomfy. And another big thing, as I was doing research into the Nikadiwa deep dive, the egg cracking video came across my feed, and people are literally taking a hard egg and smashing it on their children's heads. I don't know how we've gotten to a point in society where we are inflicting pain on our children to get views on social media. And I don't understand how these parents think this is okay. Is it just a funny joke? But we're not talking about that. If you go to any family vlogger YouTube channel, you will see that some of the most popular videos are either birth and pregnancy, obviously, but the next most popular category is hospital visits, broken bones, or dentist visits. They all do it. And it always starts off as, we're just making memories. And then all of a sudden they're raising awareness for whatever. And that's just not okay. And people need to stop clicking on it. But the problem is, tied into another really big social media problem, is the clickbait behind it all is disgusting, because it gets people to click on the video to be like, oh, well, what happened? You are eliciting an emotional response in someone at the expense of your child for social media clout. That's disgusting. And I don't know how people can do that and sleep at night knowing you did that, thinking, yeah, I did a good job as a parent today. How did you possibly do a good job as a parent? You exploited your child in the worst way possible. But before we move on, is there a time and place to share medical stories? I think yes. There absolutely is. With a rise in mental health diagnoses and everything kind of changing and being more nuanced, with the rise in genetic conditions and the ability to have a platform to raise awareness about this, hey, this rare genetic condition, this happened. I think that there is value in that. Just like I said with House of Hughes and her story, there's value in sharing a NICU story and NICU journey because it's a very isolating experience. And when you have a child who has a rare diagnosis, you tend to seek that sense of community, that sense of solidarity. So I think that it is very important to be able to share medical journeys and experiences surrounding rare conditions. However, when the kid is in every single video in the most vulnerable, awful positions, when they're shown in pain or anything like that on their deathbed, sometimes that's not okay. That's crossing a boundary line, a privacy line. So there's definitely a balance. Would you agree? Now we're getting into the nitty gritty, guys. What happened? Elena Harris, married to Brock Harris. Allegedly, they are broken up now. I don't know. He was found on Tinder. There's a whole mess of stuff. We're not really talking about that. So it's a thing. Just know that it's a thing. She was a TikTok mommy vlogger, and at the height of her shtick, had 1.1 million followers on TikTok. I believe they have 4 kids, and she also lost a baby around 20 weeks, just before 20 weeks, I believe is what it was, which is horrific and heartbreaking and so incredibly sad. A lot of people are speculating that the attention that she received from that incident kick-started her behaviors and what she ended up doing to her daughter. Because unresolved medical trauma really messes with your mind. Not only do you have the hormones that are all out of whack because you're postpartum, all the things. There's also an instance, too, that I can find where they're kind of this like clout-seeking type behavior. So one was they were at the beach and they jumped into riptides to go and rescue people who were stuck out in waves. I don't know where they were. They were stuck out in the ocean. And Allanah was 5 months pregnant and like swam out with a boogie board to help rescue her husband. And then I don't even know. But there was a whole article that was written about them. And it just makes you think like, wow, a lot of stuff sure does happen to these two. This is weird. And there was another instance that someone dug up that Brock alleged that he got a $170 some odd fine for being pulled over for drinking water, to which the police rebutted and said, no, that's not the case. And that's about as far as I read into that, because like, I don't really care. I feel like they're liars and we don't need to hear what they have to say. But those are just 2 notable things that's like, oh, maybe caught in a lie here, and oh, maybe a bit of clout-seeking behavior here, you know? So on the same day that she had the miscarriage, stillborn, I'm not sure exactly of timing, her daughter was diagnosed with TSC, which is tuberous sclerosis complex. And it is a rare genetic disease that causes non-cancerous tumors to grow in vital organs and on the brain. This is an absolutely horrific disease, and it's really close to home. But to happen to get that diagnosis on the same day of a huge trauma, honestly, to me, it's like trauma stacking. She took a very emotional day and said, hey, we got a diagnosis. Be super sad because we're already super sad. And look at all the sad stuff that's happening to me, which I'm not taking away from the fact that she had a stillborn. And that's horrific, absolutely horrific. And my heart goes out to her for that. But then she goes on to do this with a new baby. So here's a summary in the Harris family subreddit. I highly recommend you guys jump over there, give them some support. They're doing a good job at trying to get the sub up and going. It's only got like 600 members right now. Over the last couple months, Elena Harris has documented Dee's medical journey, which has consisted of Allanah stating her concerns of Dee's symptoms being ignored for months by doctors. sleepiness, staring spells, not reaching milestones, etc. After advocating for Dee, medical professionals diagnosed her with multiple things. According to Allanah, Dee has tumors all through her body and a couple on her brain, pressing against a part of her brain that is causing seizures. During all this, a GoFundMe was created by Brock's mom and they raised $62,000. Allanah was documenting all of this, including putting photos of Dee in only nappies all over the internet. Eventually, Dee has 2 brain surgeries after being in a sleeping state for over 100 hours. After Dee's second brain surgery and apparently still no progress of Dee being any better, Allanah stated they would be setting up palliative care at home. They then went radio silent. So I believe this was about a month ago when all this happened, because just recently Brock has broken his radio silence. So this grew concern that Dee had passed or that they were not sharing the story for the This grew concerns that Dee had passed or that they were only in sharing the story for the money. Then they had another influencer friend of Allanah post an update on their behalf, stating Dee was doing better. Here is when 2 Facebook profiles started commenting crazy information regarding Allanah and Dee all over videos of them. From Allanah having Munchausen's by proxy, Allanah allegedly injecting drugs into Dee. Many people have seen this but stayed quiet due to it being an insanely large speculation. Last week, Brock was seen on Tinder and a screenshot was posted to Tea Time. His family and friends were commenting and defending him, saying that Brock is innocent and the truth will come out as there's an investigation going on. People had messaged Allanah and she replied saying they broke up on Saturday and he was on Tinder on Monday, yet no mention of how Dee is or about the money. That brings us up to today. Brock posted a statement on his Snapchat, which the screenshots were posted, confirming that Allanah did poison Dee and he had no part, and Allanah is trying to frame him. The children are currently with child services and safe from Allanah. The investigation started as nurses caring for Dee saw that Alannah's TikTok about Dee's medical journey weren't actually true, and she was spreading false information to what the doctors were stating and was making it all completely up. After her second brain surgery, the hospital did a toxicology report and it's shown a high reading of benzos. Allanah has also been seen many years ago attending church groups talking about her kidney disease.
I felt that since I was working 7 days a week, I was too busy for church and for God. Working this much really started to take its toll on me, not only emotionally, but physically my body was starting to break down without me even knowing. I took myself to the doctors and was instantly rushed in an ambulance to hospital. I was confused and had no idea what was going on, but I was soon diagnosed with stage 5 chronic kidney disease. For me, I had no idea what this meant. To be honest, I hardly even knew what the kidneys really even did, but I quickly learned that my life was going to change. I was told that until they found a match for a kidney transplant, that I would have to do dialysis treatments 3 times a week to keep me alive. This was hard for me to swallow. But in that moment, as Pastor John prayed, I could feel the presence of God working inside me. The next day I went straight to the doctors to get tested and was tested again in hospital the next night. And my kidney function had raised from 7% to 33%. To this day, it's slowly getting better and better each time, and I strongly believe that through the healing power of God, I will not need to get a kidney transplant.
So she was in kidney failure. Did you get a kidney transplant, girl, or did you just pray it away? Jesus might have saved her, guys. Speculation is believed that she was also faking this. Please note, all of this is alleged. So that's where all of this kind of started. She got called out and then they went radio silent. Evidently, they broke up sometime in between and left all of their viewers hanging. Could you imagine being so emotionally invested in this child? Which I know, guys, weird. I know, right? But could you imagine? And then they go radio silent and you hear nothing. Imagine the panic and chaos it must have caused her audience, having built up this huge medical journey for so long. About a month goes by and this gets posted to Tea Time on Facebook. Got some Harris family goss for you. So the mom/dad or mom and dad have drugged Daisy the whole time. Some of the nurses started following her Insta page /TikTok and was like, no, she's spreading false info. She doesn't have brain tumors, and she was never palliative. After her last brain surgery, which they found nothing, the Children's Hospital decided to run a toxicology report, and it showed that Daisy had a high reading for benzodiazepine, which is like Valium, etc. Kids have been taken off them, and I'm not too sure where the mom and dad are. However, Daisy is under child protection and is still in the hospital, awake, sitting up, eating, and being a normal 1-year-old, which is even more horrific because she says that she'd been in this sleepy state, and now you're like, oh my gosh, she planned it all. When we circle back to the miscarriage and Daisy getting this alleged diagnosis on that day, well, obviously it was planned and thought out that way. And the minute that I heard that she got the diagnosis on the same day as the I knew right away that she had planned it and thoughtfully crafted to make it as sad as she possibly could. And I don't know how a mother could literally drug her child into almost a comatose state. And then she's saying on her TikTok, we're going to bring her home palliative. What do you think the next step was going to be? She was going to her baby. For what? Attention on social media? And like, did you think you were going to get away with murdering your child and they just like wouldn't find out? They wouldn't do a toxicology post-op? Like, it just makes no sense. And it's enraging. So after the whistleblower has come forward and speculation's building, people are worried because nobody's heard, is Daisy okay? Is she not okay? What's going on? And the father releases these statements. I figured this would be the fastest way to reach everybody, as I know everyone loves to gossip. For what it is worth, I had no idea what Allanah was doing to Daisy. I pushed for those surgeries because in my heart I felt that it would help. I didn't realize that Daisy was being drugged the entire time, causing her symptoms to be what they were. What? I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm a good dad and I do my best to love and protect my children. I should have done better for them. Just a little bit. I'm sorry I couldn't protect Daisy in the way I should have. The children have been taken into custody under speculation I potentially had something to do with this. On everything I have ever known and ever loved, I had no idea what Allanah was doing. Allanah, you're an absolute monster. You win. To all 4 of my beautiful, beautiful children, I love you so dearly and I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Here you go. Proof that she was lying about her kidney disease. So here is Nick Gets Real. This is my Tuesday, Thursday big needle, and the exact same picture right here. I wish I could say this needle was for a horse, but unfortunately it's for me. Not just one of these needles, but 2 of them. One for blood in and one for blood out. 3 times a week for approximately 5 hours at a time. Chronic kidney disease has been labeled as a killer and usually develops over time, with most people not even knowing the disease until the final stages, like me. But on a very positive note, my kidneys have improved from a very low 7% function to being at 33%. Thank you, Jesus. And it's the exact same image. Yep. She has always been this kind of person to lie for social media clout, to lie about diseases and illness because it brings in the clicks. Just like Madison Russo, she went absolutely viral for having stage 4 pancreatic cancer that had already spread, that's super end stage, that's all this thing, yet was getting up and going for runs and between chemo and doing her hair and makeup to hide the fatigue. It's so incredibly gross to lie about medical conditions for social media clout. And I don't think that anything medical should be allowed to be monetized anymore, because if you're doing it to raise awareness, you shouldn't be making money off of it then. The fact that she stole this person's story to try and get sympathy from people and emotionally manipulate her audience and then eventually put her child at the blunt end of that is egregious. And I hope she gets arrested and ends up behind bars for child abuse. I hope to God she gets arrested. That's what I will pray about. I don't pray. I will pray for that. Disgusting. At the end of the day, This child cannot give consent. She could never give consent, and she's too young to give consent. And when she's comatose because she's OD'd on drugs because of her wonderful mother, then she definitely cannot give consent for the stuff to be posted on the internet. And she even had this disgusting video about your baby's first haircut should be memorable as she's cutting her child's hair while sending her into brain surgery that wasn't necessary, that she made happen. This baby went through 2 brain surgeries for nothing because her mom was drugging her. That is disgusting, and I don't understand why they waited the 2 surgeries to do a toxicology report and blood work and stuff like that. Like, I don't understand, and I feel like some things might be a little misconstrued there, but what? And then to make it all like, oh, I'm so sad because her first haircut isn't going to be memorable. Your baby's going into surgery.
And I think I love you till my lungs get out. I ain't lying.
There's all these images of her sitting with her kid, like just like smiling and so happy. And you're like, this is not the face of someone who's worried about their child. This is the face of someone who's lapping in all this attention. And I also found these to be highly disturbing. She's literally smiling as she's walking into the hospital, knowing she lost her baby, and afterwards and stuff like that. And this one picture with the stillborn baby and her other child, and completely exploiting that horrific situation and then sharing it for the masses to consume. Like, I understand taking pictures, I understand wanting to remember that baby, especially if it was a later term loss, but to take pictures like this and post them everywhere is just horrific and disgusting, in my opinion. It is a dangerous level of clout goblin behavior. So let's talk a little bit about Munchausen by proxy. Obviously, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, I don't know, but she drugged her child to make her sick. So the definition of Munchausen by proxy, now commonly referred to as factitious disorder imposed by another. Interesting. Is a psychological condition where a caregiver, often a parent, deliberately exaggerates, fabricates, or induces medical issues in a dependent, typically a child, to gain attention, sympathy, or other forms of emotional gratification. In terms of social media, not only can you reach a wider audience with this sympathy manipulation, but you also have instant access to people's emotional responses and support. You have such a large audience that is pouring attention into this mom, she thinks at least, because she made her daughter sick. And I feel as though, as I alluded to earlier, after the miscarriage, she realized, oh, this got me a lot of attention. So maybe a sick baby will get me a lot of attention. And I honestly feel if CAS did not step in and take those babies away, if she would have come home from the hospital with her parents, it would have been a matter of weeks and she would have passed away. And at the end of the day, what was your end goal? Saying she was on palliative, what was the end goal? And how could you possibly do this to your baby? Another reason people do this is for the monetary gain, right? It is a huge grift. The reason why I don't think money was the motives behind what Allanah did is because she didn't create the GoFundMe. And that's another reason why I think Brock and his family actually might not be involved in everything and might not know. It's very easy to sneak anyone drugs, especially a little kid. Dad might work. He goes to the store, boop, there you go. Goes, to the bathroom, boop, whatever the case may be. I feel as though it would be fairly easy to hide from him. She's that good of a liar to medical staff to convince them to do 2 brain surgeries on her child. Like, you don't think she wasn't emotionally manipulating her husband? Absolutely she was. Now, as he said, he definitely should have stepped up and question things, and I'm sure there's red flags, but at the end of the day, he might have just been a dad who was really concerned about his kid, who was like, why is my baby acting like this all of a sudden? What's going on? Like, yeah, we need to get her help. Yeah, we need to fix her. Let's get her to the doctor. You know what? If the surgery will help, let's do it. Come on. And then it was his mom who decided to start the GoFundMe for medical expenses. That's valid, right? I guess they don't have standardized healthcare in Australia. I don't know. I couldn't imagine paying for medical expenses for my kid. I've said it time and time again. But the fact that Allanah didn't create it herself makes me lean more towards the fact that the mom did it in an effort to help with the medical expenses that this man, Brock, was going to his mom, and his mom did this as a way to help. It's either that or they're all in on it and thought that they could make a quick buck doing whatever they're doing, and they're trying to frame it solely on Allanah and she's trying to frame them, and it's like this whole big mess. We don't know. We weren't there, and we won't know until the investigation is done and arrests are made, right? Obviously, he needs to be held accountable because to a certain extent, he is complicit in this. He did allow his child and children to be exploited online for the masses to consume. He had a hand in consenting to that. But do I think that he knew that this woman was drugging his daughter and just allowed it to happen? I don't think so. It's just my gut feeling, though, with what I've consumed so far. And again, I don't know these people. I've never seen them. I don't know how involved he was in the content. Did he still have a job? Did he still work? Or were they family vloggers together? You know, there's a lot of unknowns right now, but from my initial standpoint, that's what I think. But at the end of the day, he still needs to be accountable for his actions and everything. So here on TikTok, I have the Harris family truth open up.
Benign, which is an amazing part of the story. Tumours all over her body. They said, don't be alarmed because she will have them in her heart, her kidneys, her lungs, her nerves, her spinal cord, her eyes. And I said, how many tumours does she have in her brain? And that's when they said there's too many to even count. Her head would just like drop and go completely floppy, and then she would come back and then it would drop again and her eyes would like roll back. I was diagnosed on Friday with epilepsy, Sunday with infantile spasms, and then Thursday with tuberous sclerosis complex. I need a hug. I need a hug. You're just filled with tumours. She has...
Okay, that seemed rather fake.
Guys, Chase slept for 20 hours yesterday. 20. He was only awake for 4 hours. There he is. There he is.
That's not normal. Why are you like excited that your kid slept for 20 hours?
Kids are such good sleepers. I can fully change their nappy, get them changed into different outfits, even a number 2, while they sleep. They don't wake up. Is this normal? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm super grateful for really good sleepers. To be honest, Daisy is probably the best sleeper out of all of them. She goes to sleep in the afternoons, and I usually wake her up to go to school drop-off. Ellie must be growing or just tired today because she crashed again on the couch.
Something a week from hell, not only for me, but my partner, Proxy. As some of you are aware, I had a mini stroke on Monday that left us both feeling hurt and confused. That in itself was a lot for us to comprehend and still a mystery as to why or how it happened, but to also hear news that there's a high risk of losing our baby girl had left us completely broken. This being said, not only are we grieving the potential loss of our baby girl, but also Dad to say the final goodbye, Broxton's stepdad yesterday. We are trusting in God for some sort of miracle. Please hug your loved ones tighter. For me today, you never know if it's going to be their last. Okay. Very disturbing. It's making me quite uncomfortable, but I want to go and look at the news interview.
A 9 News exclusive. The Queensland mother and influencer at the centre of horrific allegations of harming her 1-year-old child has broken her silence. Child protection detectives have launched a major investigation after the little girl was hospitalised.
Can you say, Mommy?
She shared her family's life with the world, gaining a mass following online. She is, in every word, an influencer.
Hi.
But tonight she's facing serious allegations that she drugged her daughter, leaving her in intensive care. Queensland Police launching a major investigation.
Speaking.
It's Bailey from 9 News here. How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I was just hoping to ask a couple of questions.
Tonight, this is the first time we've heard from her since the allegations came to light.
It is so unfair, and it's getting addressed at the moment with the proper council.
Is that why you've shut the post down and everything as well? Is that why you've deleted the post?
I can't speak too much. I will get my lawyer to contact you, Bailey. I do really appreciate the call, but...
She says she's now sought legal representation.
Did you harm your daughter?
No, I can't talk to you, Bailey. That's why I've talked to you. I've said this is a matter that cannot be spoken on.
While investigations are underway, the baby has been removed from her care.
Thank
The
God
child's
for
in
that.
safe hands at the moment with authorities.
This case is now in the hands of the Morningside Child Protection and Investigation Unit. It's likely that dozens of family, friends and medical professionals will need to be spoken to before the whole story comes to light.
It is protracted and complicated, and it will take a bit of time, but I can assure you the child is safe whilst that investigation is undergoing.
And as part of that investigation, the online fundraising platform GoFundMe is working with police. More than $60,000 was raised for the family when the little girl was first hospitalised. Those funds have now been frozen.
Horrific allegations, but police need to be able to do their investigation free from anything that I say.
Tonight, no arrests have been made and no charges have been laid. Bailey Kenzie, 9 News.
Guys, I couldn't imagine. I honestly, I do have 2 medically complex children. I do. And the thought of exploiting them in times of vulnerability makes me want to puke. It makes me feel so sick that a mom, if you could even call her that, would do that, would put her child in this state and force her baby to go through brain surgery for nothing. And I hope, I almost hope we're all wrong about this, because I don't know what kind of monster could possibly do that. Could force their child to go through brain surgery for no reason, for attention. Who would do that? It's so infuriating. At the end of the day, is it raising awareness about something, or is it exploitation? And should parents be allowed to share this information publicly? I think that there needs to be protections in place for medical privacy, and that just because the parents are the substitute decision makers doesn't give them the right to share that information. Being that decision maker means that you are going to make the best medical decisions for your child, not share all of their medical information with the entire world. And it's such a level of disconnect, and her forcing these tears and stuff, none of that was genuine. You can just tell. Like I said, I saw multiple videos of her just sitting there holding her baby and with a big smile on her face, and her baby just got out of surgery, and you're like, how is that the vibe that you're going with when you have a baby who literally just got out of surgery? I don't, what? Again, as someone with medically complex children and family members who have been through cancer, family members with TSC, it's no, how dare you lie about stuff like that? How dare you lie about stuff like that for money, for attention? It is so disgusting. And at the end of the day, if you're more concerned about getting video likes and views than your child and their medical condition or their privacy or their well-being, then you need to seriously check yourself, because that is not healthy behavior. If you are prioritizing social media content over the well-being of your children, you have a problem and you need to go get help, please, before you hurt someone. Because it's just not okay. And what these people are doing, and these medical mommies, it's not okay. And if that's a trending thing to be a medical mom right now, that's disgusting, because it's just further commodifying these children's lives. Like, where did basic human respect and dignity and decency go? And why, as a collective, have we made this okay to make into content? Why do these people have support at all? And again, I know a lot of the time, oh, tired potato. Oh, itchy potato too. It's gonna distract me till he's done. I'm gonna wait till he's done. Bosley? He's very deaf, so he did not hear that. Bosley? You good boy. You good boy. Our little overcooked yam. Our old man. He's very grumpy. I appreciate his guest appearance today, though. At the end of the day, I think we need to advocate and push for stronger restrictions on what content is allowed to be shared on social media. And if platforms aren't going to get rid of sharing children altogether, I understand how that can be difficult and almost impossible, then at least put in some protections for medical privacy or trauma privacy or whatever, because this isn't okay. And if they're posting, they're going to get support. And if people are supporting, they are enabling this behavior. So it needs to be bigger than that. It needs to be not allowed to be posted about. And again, I think you can share your story in a way that keeps your child's dignity intact and doesn't give away all of their private medical information. I do. I think there's a way to do it. How does that look? I have no idea. Maybe I'll brainstorm how that looks. But this is disgusting. She drugged her baby to make her sick. She put her through 2 brain surgeries, needle pokes, blood tests, drugs in her body for social media clout. And I just thank God the kids got taken away before it was too late. For her to be talking, oh, now she's palliative, when she was never palliative. She was never sick. She was never sick. So why would you say she's palliative? Why would you say she's on end of life care if that wasn't the next step that she was going to take? And thinking about that is horrific. And like thinking that you can just do that and post it and plaster it all over social media and get away with it. Like, how disconnected can you be that you can think that you can get away with like offing your child? I don't understand what the end goal here was. And if you wanted attention, congrats, you got it. Not the best kind of attention to have in my personal opinion, but here we are. You got it, Allanah. You have gone viral, my dear. Congratulations. I hope jail treats you terribly and that you have the day that you deserve. Right? But that's all I have for you guys. If you are interested in another terrible mom who's fully exploiting her child, I recommend you check out the House of Hughes deep dive that I did here, because yeah, I don't think it's okay to exploit children who can't consent. Not that children can consent, period, but especially when it comes to their medical stuff. I hope you are having a fantastic, amazing, wonderful, epic, awesome day wherever you are in the world. Please don't forget to like and subscribe before leaving. It really helps the channel get boosted into the algorithm, and I truly appreciate it at the end of the day. Bye, guys.